What's up, guys? It's Will from Social Hero Media, and today we are doing episode 2 of the Zero to Hero podcast.
Ooh.
I'm joined by the usual. We've only had one episode so far, and we are bringing back the exact same 4 people as last time. We have me, Will. Next to me, I have
Terrell.
And across from me, I have
Brandy.
And Ryan.
Ooh, solid intro. Nice. Okay.
Yeah, that was pretty solid, actually. Yeah.
Let's get straight into it. So you guys don't know the topics, except I think me and Brandy know them. That's it.
It's because Terrell and I didn't prepare.
Yeah, I didn't prepare either.
We like to come in fresh.
I
Yes.
like to come
Coming
prepared.
Coming in hot.
Brandy was the only one who gave topics, so we'll figure out the rest. We'll figure out the rest. First one, where we each came from. So
Where we each came from.
yeah, like what led us to Social Hero and our story. Like the whole background of what you were doing before, and yeah. Who wants to
Will,
take
you
the first?
should start.
You want me to start? Okay. I'll start. No worries.
Now, does this story include who brought you into Social Hero Media?
No.
I got to stop saying media. It's just Social Hero.
Yeah, we'll just say Social Hero for now.
What if we just call that?
No,
What if
this
we
is-
just
this is
refer to the
real.
person as RA?
How about we give a nickname.
Yeah.
What should we name?
The Flexer.
Tim.
The Flexer.
Tim the Flexer. Okay.
Yeah.
Tim Deflexer.
Okay.
That's a good name.
So, I used to work at Zara part-time, and I used to work in, well, actually, I wasn't, I was working part-time at Zara, and then I was doing drop shipping on the side because I was one of those people who saw it online in the ads. I know Ryan probably has a lot to say about people who buy courses and whatnot, but I bought a mentorship.
Just sorry to interrupt. Did you
Yeah.
become a millionaire?
I didn't become a millionaire, no.
Oh.
But
did one of those courses say you'd become a millionaire?
I'm sure all of them do, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because I know there was a case study on you where you were doing like seven figures in 90 days.
Yeah, no, that was just the guy who wanted to put that there. I still have a lot of respect for him because he taught me a lot, but he's a marketer, so he'll put anyways, let me get into the story. So I started doing decently well with it, where I think the first month I made $4,000 in sales US. So I took some of that profit and stuck it in my bank account, and then I quit after because Tim the Flexer approached me with an offer to come do sales at
His company.
Yes, his company, and it was a good time. I came along and I started building funnels for sales instead of going door to door, and then that got leads, and then I guess I just had the conversation with Ryan, and that's how I came here, and I just started building up my Facebook ad skill set and working more deeper in marketing, working on clients instead of just pure e-commerce for myself. And it's been over a year now, and I love it. It's fun. I get to build my skill sets. Yeah. How about you, Brandy? You're next.
Well, I went to school. I actually went to a school here that's not around anymore. It was called Guru Digital Arts College, which turned into Edmonton Digital Arts College, and now it's not a thing anymore, unfortunately. But I went in for graphic design, and within that course, we learned a whole bunch of stuff. We learned graphic design, web design, which I hated. I don't know how Q does it. I remember having nightmares about coding, nightmares. And
Yours the ones that are just chasing after you.
yeah, and then photography, and then I actually wound up taking a big liking to photography, and that's kind of the direction I went in. For the first little while, I worked at a few photography studios, and I did some graphic design at the photography studios as well, and then I lost my job at the photography studio because it's actually kind of a funny story. Mm-hmm. It was like a family photography studio in Sherwood Park, and they used to buy all of their props from a place in the States called Design Revolution. And Design Revolution was going under. So then I made a joke. I was like, oh, you guys should go and buy Design Revolution. And they were like, oh, okay. And they did. And then a month later, they're like, oh, we're moving to the US, so you have to find a new job.
Oh wow.
So, yeah. And then that led me to Social Hero. I actually worked at home for a little while doing some design stuff, and then it wasn't enough.
So what would happen if you didn't make that joke?
I'd probably still
Still
be
be
at the
working.
photography studio, but you know what? I like it here better, so.
Just like a super important fact, Brandy's been here since like day one.
Yeah,
So
I'm
before
the
we even
only
did our
one.
first deal, Brandy was here,
That's so crazy.
right?
Day one.
Yeah.
Wow.
I helped lift Social Hero off the ground.
The initial logo and everything. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Initial
cool.
logos.
Not a lot of people can say that they've been at a company since the day it was founded, right?
Yeah.
Very rare. Like that. Cool. Who wants to go next? Ryan? Terrell?
My story is pretty interesting. I took
okay.
over a little gig for Tim.
Nice.
I then proceeded to drop the files off at his office.
His office. Okay.
His company.
I remember.
Yeah.
So yeah, super grateful though at the end of the day. But yep, I dropped the files off and we ran into Ryan, and Tim then introduced me to Ryan, and then I basically got interviewed on the spot, showed him my work, told him my skills and all that, and it went pretty well, and I was in the next day. And then I got fired at the end of the first day. So I got fired. But then I remember just talking on the phone with Ryan and the other coworkers and just being like, just saying how I can build up my skills even more so I can keep this position, just because it's like something I really love. And that panned out pretty well. So what we did, I came in the next week, and then starting that week, I actually just decided just to work for free for the month, just to show them what I'm capable of, doing all the shoots, doing a little bit of posting and all that.
Do you remember I
all the
tried
stuff.
to make you take over all of the posting?
Yep. And I was just blindsided. 'Cause Tim was like, yo, man, you're going to be the photographer and all that. Then I'm managing all these accounts. And then it worked out, though, because Tim did go on a trip, and I took over his gigs. And that's where I got to show my skill and all and that, and complete
That's where
those
you
projects.
indirectly replaced Tim.
Oh, but yeah, I was able to show my skills over time, and then I managed to land a position full time here, and ever since then I've just been working on my craft and improving my skills, along with just learning so much more about even myself. And ever since then, it's been pretty good here. You can't ask for a different job.
Yeah. No, I agree with that last part that he said. There's a lot of benefits to being able to work here in terms of just being able to grow as an individual too. So that's one thing.
Yeah.
All right, you, Ryan. Let's hear the founding story of Social Hero.
Jeez.
Well, you know what? I'd worked for somebody else for the last 15 years. I was within the TELUS realm, so always something to do, either TELUS corporate or indirect channels. Just had enough. It was time for something else, and this was it. So it was an idea that kind of came up. Initially, I was actually set to buy into someone else's company, but it wasn't quite what they made it out to be at the time. So
I see.
versus buying in, we started and haven't looked back.
How did you find the whole idea of social media marketing? Was it like Ty Lopez? Because I know it was big back then.
No, it wasn't, because I didn't watch
wasn't?
Ty Lopez.
Okay.
No, I'm a sales guy by trade. That's what I do. Selling the same box every single day gets really repetitive. It gets really boring, and you get, not to be cocky, but you get very good at it. So why not be able to apply that skill to 10 or 15 or 1,000 boxes where you can actually go in and help a company and organization make a difference in moving their product?
Yeah, and with something like this, nothing's ever repeated. Everything is different. Every client's different.
Yeah.
Every day is different.
Yeah, every day is different around here.
Yeah, taking on a new client is like taking on a new business venture,
Yeah,
right?
it keeps life interesting, that's for sure.
Yeah, unique personalities, unique problems. Okay. That's very, very, very good.
So the date coming up, it's a special date for everyone. People are going to be storming Area 51 pretty soon, boys and girls.
Oh,
That
that's
was
today.
happening today.
That's today.
Isn't it today?
It's today.
It's today? I
Yeah.
thought it was the 22nd.
No,
My
no,
bad.
today is the day. That's why
Today's
I
the
wanted
day,
to.
eh?
Yeah, that's why I wanted to talk about it. So,
There was actually less people at the Area 51 raid than there was voting for Rachel Notley. So that doesn't say a whole lot, but
I'm a head out.
so yeah, like 75 people showed up, which surprises me because people actually showed up. I didn't think that anybody was actually going to do it.
How many people joined the
75.
group?
It was supposed to be a joke.
Yeah.
A couple of people got arrested. I think one person got arrested for urinating in public, and then the other person, they weren't sure why she got arrested. But yeah, 75 people showed up. The town was panicking because there's only 50 people that live in that town, and there's one hotel, and it only has 15 hotel rooms.
How far out is Area 51? Because I don't even know too much.
I think
in
it's
some
it's in the
remote
middle of
town in
nowhere.
Nevada. It's like really remote, isolated.
Yeah, so the people there were panicking because they thought that thousands and thousands of people are going to show up, and it was going to be a fire festival incident.
Oh, yeah. It's like a giant.
It literally sounds like the NDP re-election campaign, which, well, we're on the topic. Let's quickly touch on our Prime Minister, Justin Trudeau.
I think this is something.
Oh, no. This is going to be good. This is going to be good. Because you
Okay.
guys are millennials. Brandy's not, but Brandy...
Sure. Let's
Brandy
open the
runs under the
conversation
green banner.
to whatever comes at hand. I heard somebody say that, and it was a really good opinion. I saw it in somebody's Instagram story that was in 2001, right?
He was, just bearing in mind, he was 29 years old when that happened.
Okay.
So do you right now at 22 have the wherewithal that you wouldn't put brown face paint on and dance around like a fool?
I definitely wouldn't do that. But the argument was that, and I don't want to. This is a political talk. I'd be careful what I say. But the thing about that time is times were very different, right? Not saying that it's like acceptable that back then either.
Do you remember the racism that well, you wouldn't because you were probably
I was
like
4 years old. Yeah.
So the racism that existed around that time because of 9/11, Osama bin Laden.
2001. Yeah.
Racism and that whole stereotyping of another culture was just as prevalent back then as it is now. The only difference is now more people pay attention to it. So regardless of what he wants to say, at 29 years old, you should have the wherewithal to understand what you're doing is almost,
True.
well, borderline racist. What would we say if somebody dressed up with white face paint?
That was actually a vine.
Oh, I know.
Where's the mother?
Yeah, where's the Halloween one?
So that's the thing. So something you did 20 years ago, which he knew existed, he knew was out there.
Yeah.
How could people not expect it to be offended?
Yeah. No, I don't blame people getting offended by that. Politics is a dangerous game. People are just in it to. It's really dirty in the sense that you never know what the intent is of the person who's behind that smile, right?
Just like business.
It's true.
Just like getting married. Everything has a danger value to it. It's just some more dangerous than others.
Yeah, I think the economy is definitely something that needs to be fixed, especially with I think it's in the States too, like the whole credit crisis, right? I think I don't know if you know the statistics about like the amount of credit card debt that Canadians have. Isn't it somewhere near the top of the world or something like that?
The delinquency and default rate.
Yeah.
I'm just going to pull the stat for you.
While we're waiting, our new website is up.
Yes.
If you go to socialhero.ca, you get all sorts of pretty new features on there for you guys to check out. Thanks to Q, our lovely web designer.
Good job, Q.
Shout out to that guy.
Shouts out, Q.
Shout Yeah.
So again, this is a video back from M&P back in 18. 31% of Canadians are unable to cover their monthly bills.
31%.
31%.
You want to know an interesting fact about marketing with a credit in the United States? That in 2018, they spent, I think it was 2018, financial institutions spent $600 million on personal finance education. Can you guess how much they spent on advertising their services and marketing?
How much?
$24 billion. So they spent $600 million educating people on how to use credit, and then they spent about $24 billion just offering it as a service to people. And
But that's what it boils down to. It's about giving people enough rope to hang themselves with.
yeah, it's a sad topic if you think about it. That because it's at the end of the day, it is just business, right? These it's true. Like the banks, they need to make money, right? And the only way they're going to make money is off the interest of people. And then they don't go out and do. It's just business, is what it is. They don't go out and educate people on how to use their products, right?
It is.
Well, no, the fact of the matter is that people are out running up interest, accruing new revenue for the company that provided it to them.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know if you've ever owed Visa money, but whether you owe it right now, you'll still owe it in 20 years. They don't stop. It's like you owe them child support, and they will keep coming at you like the Terminator until you pay them their money.
Yeah. More people need financial education, especially in North America, I think.
But they don't teach that in school. Why?
It's not
Most
in their best
20-year-olds
interest.
don't know what a mortgage is.
Mm-hmm.
How do you get through life without the basic necessities? That stuff should be. Did they teach you credit in school? The importance of
No.
your credit,
None of that.
interest rates, mortgage rates, anything that would help you in the real world in high school. Did you learn any of that
School
stuff?
doesn't
social
teach
studies?
you how to survive in the real world. They teach you math that you don't
Powerhouses.
even use in life unless you're an engineer. So
Because it's not in their best interest, right? At the end of the day. I mean, if the banks taught us how to be very, very good with our money, who's going to pay for their buildings, right? If they're just lending out money, not collecting anything from it, they don't get anything from it. So someone has to kind of, what's the saying for it? I don't know. The piper needs to be paid.
Jeez.
Pay the fiddler.
Pay the fiddlers out.
Pipe needs to get paid. Just destroy that one, man.
Yeah, I botched that one.
All right.
Good.
Well, on another topic, Sunday night. Trell, tell everybody what we're doing.
I'm going to church on Sunday night.
Sunday man.
All right. Well, religion's
Terrell-
coming in. We just
Terrell-
talked politics, so
Terrell is going to church on Sunday
Yeah, I
before
gotta-
we
Sunday,
go
man,
into a
what are you saying?
paranormal investigation.
Yeah.
How about we get into creepy talk now about like aliens, ghosts? on that topic?
Do you guys believe in aliens?
Yeah, we're not alone.
No, I think it would be ignorant for us to think we're alone in this world because we haven't even discovered the end of the universe. So how could we be
Even
the
our
only
own
ones here?
planet.
Yeah, there was actually another planet discovered that they found water on. So there's likely life there, which is really interesting.
We don't even know all the species on this planet, right? Like especially
I
with the
know.
water. Like we
Yeah.
can only go so deep before you don't know what's at the bottom of the ocean. So yeah, I think it is completely ignorant to think that there's no other forms of life. And maybe they're a form of life that we can't even comprehend, right? There's something called have you heard of the ant on a highway theory?
No.
No?
Sounds familiar.
well, I'm sure I have, but you should
What
explain it
is
to
it?
me just so I can make sure you understand
Here's
it.
a fiddler real quick.
So the ant on a highway theory is that imagine you're an ant, right? And you're just walking on the side of a highway. Now, does an ant even have like the physical capability to process what's going on around him? Does he know that he's beside a highway when he sees the cars flying by him and making noise? Does he even have like the physical capability to process that within his brain and think what is going on around him, right? They probably can't, right? They can't understand what the concept of a road is or a car. It's just way too complex.
Well, that's not even with just ants if you think about it. Like animals, like they probably don't even, like animals in the wild, if they see a human, they're probably like, What is that?
Yeah. And people relate that topic to the sense that when we sit on the earth and like look up in the sky, we just can't even fathom what's going on beyond it, right? Like we can't physically see it. All of our senses are limited to an extent of like how we've developed as a species to what we can comprehend.
Yeah. Well, I don't even think that we have the mental capability to understand. Like if we were to ever discover the meaning of life or like where we came from, I don't think that our brains would mentally be able to process that.
Yeah. We're limited to what we can even think of, right?
For all we know, this whole universe could be like a speck of dust.
It's just a game somebody's playing, and we all are
Honestly.
rolling it.
It's like a Truman Show.
Yeah,
almost.
Matrix, right?
But coming back to aliens, do you guys think that aliens have ever visited us?
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
most likely.
Didn't you
100%.
watch that professional Netflix documentary? That was some hard-hitting proof right there.
Which one?
Where the little alien peeks his head around the window, and you could tell it was all staged. But what was it? Was it about 2 years ago it came out? And it's like a documentary, but
it's like based on real events.
Men in Black?
yeah, they tried to say it was like real footage. The guys claimed it 100 times over the last 10 years. But
I think I know the name of that one.
Yeah,
I forgot the name of the guy.
if you want a good laugh, put it on.
What was the story you were telling before the podcast started about the Joe Rogan thing?
Oh yeah, well no, there's a really good Joe Rogan episode where I can't remember the guy's name and I can't remember the story exactly, but he talks about his experiences working as a scientist at Area 51 and how he saw these like gravity machines and everything. That's a really good episode that if you guys haven't checked out. Yeah, no, it's a cool one to check out. I actually might have to rewatch that again just to catch up on it. But no, it's because think about it. If there was aliens too, the government wouldn't want people to know about it. It's going to cause mass hysteria. People are going to go around crazy and trying to peek and find out what it is. That's why those organizations like Area 51 exist, is because somebody has to do something about it, and it's not in the public's best interest to handle it, I guess.
Yeah, at that point,
That's the
we're
way
all
I
just a
think.
bunch of sheep.
Pretty much. Lab rats.
Maybe.
Was that from Joe Rogan's podcast or was that from that show that he had?
No, that was. I think there's two different people who've been on the show recently that have gotten like a huge following. For the documentary guy is one too. He has a whole entire Netflix documentary, and he's kind of dedicated his entire life almost just to alien research and trying to promote it to the general public.
That's so cool. Imagine being like so deep into learning about that kind of stuff. You probably would learn some pretty crazy stuff about UFOs in Area 51.
It's so creepy, honestly.
And maybe if you learn too much, the aliens would come and find you.
I don't know. I think more people have had ghost experiences than alien experiences though, right? I think that's one that... Do you guys have any ghost stories?
I have so many good ghost stories. Okay.
Okay, you go
let's
first,
see
Brandon.
them on Sunday.
This one's for you, Terrell. I used to live in a basement suite. I had 2 roommates, and there was always just something really creepy about that basement suite. You know, you can just like feel the energy in a place. And glass used to break in that place all the time too. It was like a really weird random thing. Like you would hear a smash in the kitchen, like something just randomly fell off a shelf in the kitchen or something and broke. Anyway, the 3 of us were all sitting in the living room one night watching a movie, and my one roommate had a 2-year-old little girl, and he only had her like every other weekend, so she stayed in his room when she was there. And we heard her screaming, and of course we're watching a horror movie, so we're like, pause the movie, and he runs in there to go see what's going on, and she was pointing at the closet saying, "Bad boy."
No.
I'm not even kidding. And all of us were like turned off the movie, and we're like snuggled up on the couch the rest of the night, like freaked out. Anyway, so we thought it was a really good idea after that to get a Ouija board.
Yeah.
And we're like, oh, let's see if
That'd
we
be
can
the next
contact.
practical step.
Yeah, let's see if we can contact whatever's in here.
Let's just bring it into the home.
And so we pulled out the Ouija board, and like the Ouija board was moving and stuff, but if it was speaking to us, it was speaking in another language because it didn't make any sense to us. But that night, after we played with the Ouija board, I went to bed, And I woke up in the middle of the night and my roommate was standing at the edge of the bed and he looked terrified. And I was like, what? And he's like, are you okay? And I was like, what do you mean, am I okay? And then I realized that I was sitting on the end of my bed and I was soaked, like just soaked from sweat. And he's like, it looked like something was attacking you or you're like fighting something off in your sleep. So scary. And then after that, I moved out because I was so terrified.
This is what happens when you try to get too close to these things, man. Like this Sunday, you guys are trying to like enter its territory, and I don't know.
Yeah, but Terrell, I have done so much of this stuff. I have like,
they're cool with
I've gone
now.
around with the
cool
Edmonton
with you now,
Paranormal
so.
Society a few times, and I've played with Ouija boards. Nothing really terrible has ever happened to me.
Nothing
That sounded
really
pretty
terrible.
terrible.
Well, yeah,
No,
but
the
I'm
edge of the
okay.
bed sweating?
I'm not
No.
possessed or anything.
But I'd have trauma. I'd have serious trauma after that.
Okay. But where do you have actual trauma? Like, has anything ever happened to you? Why are you so scared of
Sleep
it?
paralysis is probably the number one thing, man. Because I would wake up.
Yeah.
I don't know if I was dreaming or not, but like I just wake up. I'm in my room. I could hear my parents watching TV. All this. This is what trips me out to this day. I would see something that I'd be scared of at the time. So, like, you could see the shape of the figure, and it's right in front of your bed, and then you see it, and then you freeze up.
Yeah.
And I was still able to move and all, but every time I close my eyes, I'd close my eyes for 10 minutes, or not 10 minutes, sorry, like 10 seconds. Open it, it's still there. And I just remember just always screaming for my parents, right? And then they'd walk in, and then I wouldn't feel like I woken up again. I'd always close my eyes when I screamed in case that thing jumped or whatever, but I would just always wake up and something's standing right by my bed. And it's like...
Was it actual sleep paralysis, though? Like, you couldn't move, or...
No, that's the thing. I was able to move around and stuff. I was
So you
too
were just
shook,
seeing
though.
something,
I was way too shook. But you could see the figure on the... like a silhouette almost, and I knew exactly what it was.
Sleep paralysis is like, because I don't know if I think I've told this to Terrell before, but
Yeah.
I used to practice lucid dreaming when I was 15, because I had my very first lucid dream where because I can't swim, right? Just so you know, I can't swim. I jumped off of a boat in Westhead water park in my dream, right? And I jumped off the boat and I fell in the water. And in my dream, I'm like, oh my God, I'm going to die, right? But by the time I got to the bottom of the pool, I started to realize, like, whoa, why am I not dead yet? And I thought I died, but I'm like, oh wait, I'm dreaming. And then that's when I had my very first lucid dream. And ever since then, I went on this like crazy like journey. Like I was like journaling every single morning, trying to figure out how to do it again. And then eventually, because I started practicing something called wake-induced lucid dreaming. So wake-induced lucid dreaming is when you go from the state of consciousness straight into a dream. And you're fully aware of your body shutting down and everything through the entire process, and it's like really hallucinatory and like crazy. It's almost like you're on drugs, where you're laying
so
there.
Cool to
That
me.
happened
I
to
love
me
that
recently.
stuff.
Yeah, you're laying there, and then you'll start feeling because what happens in wake-induced lucid dreaming is you're trying to trick your brain into thinking you're asleep. So your body's gonna start doing things like sending like itch impulses just to check and see if you're awake. And then if you can have the willpower to actually just stop and like let it go, your brain will start to think like, oh, he's actually fallen asleep, he's lost consciousness, so now let's kick in sleep paralysis, all the bodily functions that need to happen for you to go into sleep, right?
That's so weird.
Yeah, and back to sleep paralysis, the reason why a lot of people see like really, really frightening things in sleep paralysis, and this is just the way I think, I don't know if there's like science behind this or anything, but basically, you know how sometimes people die in their sleep?
Yeah.
I really think a lot of it has to do sometimes with sleep paralysis, because maybe what happens is there's a
Don't
giant...
say that, because I have sleep paralysis all the time, man.
Every night, I swear.
Because what happens, the reason why sleep paralysis is occurring is because, you know, in science, like an autonomic nervous system and how we can choose consciously to breathe right now, right? But when you're sleeping, your body's doing it for you. What happens is your body, because you're consciously awake, but you're actually asleep, your body kind of gets this weird discrepancy where it doesn't know whether it needs to kick in which one. So kind of like when you're having a nightmare, usually sometimes like if a pillow is on top of your chest, right? What's going to happen is that pillow is going to add weight to your rib cage, and it's actually forcing down on your lungs. So what your body's going to do is it's going to send a shock to your brain and say like, hey, like wake up, because what you're doing right now with that pillow, we can't breathe properly, right? It's the same thing with sleep paralysis, where it kind of invokes like the most scariest thing you can think of, and it shows that to you just so it can like kind of almost like shock you out of your sleep.
Oh man.
Yeah.
I have had sleep paralysis so many times in my life, and when it happens to me, it's like I'm having a really scary dream and I start to wake myself up and I'm awake, but I'm still dreaming at the same time, and I'm trying to scream to like get somebody on the outside to wake me up, and I can't scream or move, and I'm like just trapped there in this scary
You can
dream.
even hear yourself. You're like,
Yeah. Yeah, and that's happened to me so many times.
Yeah, it's really, really freaky.
it's happened so much. Like, same with me, that I'm getting like annoyed with it. I'm like, oh, here we go again. Like, it's just so repetitive after a while.
For me, anytime that happens, it's always a ghost dream. Always.
Really?
I have so
We're
many
gonna
ghost
go
dreams.
see
It's crazy.
some ghosts this Sunday. So.
And they went away for a while and they started coming back. And
Once
I
you
think it's
see them
because
again.
what we're doing on Sunday, because I've been like thinking about it so much. I'm excited
They're
though.
like calling you over.
It's going to
Bring
be
your
fun.
friend Terrell.
What about you, Ryan? I know you have some ghost stories.
One in particular. We rented a house. Oh man, this is going back 10 years now.
Tamarack?
So we rented a house in Tamarack.
Oh Lord, not this one.
Okay,
This one's actually pretty shit.
I want to know.
Sounds
My
weird.
girlfriend at the time, she had a 3-year-old cute kid. You know, we had lived in a couple places prior to that, but we got a house in Tamarack there. So, you know, to set a little bit of background, our landlord was a very religious man. He was a pastor, reverend, something along those lines. Anywho, we moved into the house. Bad things just started happening, like almost just bad luck. You know, our relationship prior was pretty good. It started fighting a lot. I don't know. I was more depressed than I'd ever been in my life. I'm not really a depressed person. And then one night, I wouldn't believe it if there wasn't like 4 other adults there. My sister was there. She was like 8 months pregnant with my nephew. My buddy Kush and my girlfriend at the time. So my sister was sitting on the landing of the stairs, and she heard the little guy from his room screaming, "Oh, no, don't, stop. And then he just screamed at the top of his lungs. So, and just leading up to this, there had been a couple occasions where, you know, my mom was visiting, the girlfriend and my mom went out to the movies. I was working, it was like midnight. And you get that sense that somebody's like watching you.
Oh, yeah.
You know, and I turned around and like the little guy, the 3-year-old's just standing in the door, eyes closed, just pointing at me. And I'm
Pointing at you?
like, yikes. I'm like,
Yikes.
okay. So I grabbed him and I, excuse me, put him back to bed. Nothing else of it. So anyways, as all this stuff happened, unexplainable things happened that night. He had like 3 claw marks down his leg. It was like the weirdest, strangest thing I'd ever seen.
That's so freaky.
So we brought him downstairs with us. We were in the process of deciding to move out anyways. So we were kind of like packing things, and this just obviously expedited it. So a container and a garbage bag that had been on the island that we were like throwing paper and other stuff out into, it had been there for probably a week, flew off of the island. My buddy Kush, who he's
gave me the
of
chills.
East Indian descent, he started praying. Like he's on his knees in the kitchen, like praying,
Yeah.
man. We thought maybe we were being too loud, and that's what woke Cameron up and like scared him. So he was sleeping in the living room while we were there, and we all started like yelling, and the kid wouldn't wake up. So anyways, the worst part is that he would say something along the lines of, "There's darkness." And he'd say, "There's darkness in my closet. There's, you know, the darkness is coming," along those lines. So the following day, the landlord came over. We all left that night. We went to my sister's house. We like packed up, left.
Out.
Next day, I met the landlord there, and I said, like, "There's something seriously wrong with this house." And he goes, "Well, what is it? I'll grab my tools. We'll fix it." And I'm like, "No, man." I'm like, "Just take a walk around and you'll tell me if you see it or if you feel it." So he walked through every room in the house. He walked into Cameron's room, the little boy, and the hair on his neck stood up, man. Like, I'm talking like I saw it visibly stand on his neck. So he closed the door. He started saying, again, a religious thing, like he was praying and casting whatever this thing is out, as crazy as this sounds. That's when shit really started to get funky. So doors would slam closed on their own. Nobody around. light bulbs would burst, like just really weird stuff. So we started packing during the day. I refused to be in that house at night, 100%. And we left. So we actually met the people that rented the house before us.
Mm-hmm.
Same thing happened to them. They moved out in the middle of the night. They moved in. He was a lawyer. She was a doctor. They were renting the house while they were building their house. Happy family. They got divorced. He went to jail for like 3 months because he became a drunk. Like
Ironic.
just their life just went to hell. Living in this house. So one of the neighbors came over and asked me and said, "What's going on? Why are you moving? You just moved in like 3 months ago." And I'm like, "You wouldn't believe me if I told you." And he just said, "Try me." So I kind of told him a little bit about what was going on. And he goes, "Our daughter has the same thing in our house." So a little bit of research, that particular area, if you Google and research, odds are it's a burial ground from many years ago. But even the neighbor, because I thought he was going to like want to commit me to a mental asylum. He's like, "Yeah, it happens to us." He's like, "We get weird vibes." I'm like, "I won't go in that house at night, man. Like it just won't happen."
Do you remember the street or avenue that house was on? Because
37A Avenue.
Okay, I live on 39th Avenue.
37A
Tamarack is down the street from my
Avenue.
house, buddy. And if I'm gonna see this darkness as buddies,
I could show
on
you the
Sunday,
house.
I'm okay. I'm gonna stay up. I'm gonna stay far.
Do you guys know about the Charles Camsell Hospital?
Yes, I
that
heard
the one
about
here?
that one.
Yeah, there's a really old hospital here. It was like a tuberculosis sanitarium for, it was like specifically for Indigenous people.
Yeah.
And they were treated really terribly there. There's a whole big story you can look up on it. But anyway, there was like a mass grave, I guess, outside where they were just kind of throwing bodies into and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
The building got shut down and it kind of just sat there for years and years. It's still there, but they recently gutted the entire building and turned it into an apartment building. I'm not even kidding.
There's a lot of videos on YouTube about that place of people going in and unexplained sounds and howling and
Yeah, it's terrifying.
A
We
lot of
used to
weird
go there
stuff.
all the time and like try and sneak in, but we never were successful.
We were actually gonna plan that actually a while back. Tim and I and some buddies. We were gonna plan going with a bunch of cameras and just
That's spooky.
going a couple hours in that.
You would have never.
I was
Terrell,
actually,
you would have
I was
never.
contemplating it about
Buddy,
it.
you wouldn't
and
have
then
lasted
I would have,
2 minutes.
I would have backed out the minute I saw that place in
Yeah,
person.
you would have for sure.
That place in Tamarack, is it? You know how there's like an entrance to Tamarack, and you turn left,
Terrell's
right?
so
Terrell's hunting
scared
it.
now.
I know this area. And Andre, if you're listening to this, this place is right down the street from your house, buddy.
You know, when you said that thing about the bag flying, that gave me chills because I remember one time me and my buddies went to, this was when we were on the way to Kelowna. One of our friends has a house in Canmore, and you know, in Canmore, like it's like it's one of the more like outside areas of Canmore, I guess, and there's not that much light there, and this is like a really nice house. It's like a mansion, like 4 stories, like walkout basement, jacuzzi, everything. It's like really, really nice. So it's massive. But the thing is it was never really like redone at the time. So it had a very, very like antique, like old vibe to it. And when it was the like midnight, it was like the creepiest thing ever, just like walking around. And then I think it was when we were coming back from Kelowna, when we stopped there for one night, we were just like, we were talking the entire night and we felt it too. Like there was something weird. It felt like we were like almost like being watched. And then we were just kind of like making jokes about that. There's like a ghost in the house. And the moment someone made a joke about that, my friend Jerry and I we were sitting beside each other, and there was we had a bag filled with sunflower seeds sitting in the kitchen, and then it literally just jumped off the floor and like made a whoosh, and then it like fell back down, and then we just like looked right back at it, and we just looked at each other and we're like, what? It just happened. And I was like scared shitless. We turned on all the lights. Like, so when Ryan said the thing about the plastic bag, that gave me the chills because that exact thing happened to me too.
Man, I hope something happens on Sunday.
After all of these stories, we're still going to proceed with this. Like, we don't even have to do this. No
Yeah,
one's
we
forcing
do.
us to do it. No, like it's like the movies when there's a group of people and they're like, oh, let's go check it out. Like,
One by
what
one.
happens when they check it out instead of just driving back home?
The best thing you can do is split up in that situation.
Oh yes, let's split up on
Yeah.
Sunday actually.
Terrell, you go left. I'll take
Yeah,
right.
let me check it out. It's probably an old light bulb. No, I'm not cool with this Sunday plan. Like,
We're very aware of that.
if I'm not in on Monday, you know why.
You're gonna be
I'm gonna come in on on a cross.
just
or
put
something.
your
Okay.
AirPods in
We'll
or
all
your
hold
one
your
AirPod. Listen to some
I told you
Kanye.
guys, I'm gonna be like surrounded by you guys. I'm close my eyes. The worst part about this, guys, I have to record the whole thing since I'm the camera guy.
Imagine if you
so I have to keep my eyes open, make sure the shots are right.
You also have to go through the footage after. And
Yeah. No, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah,
Is
the
what if he
footage.
sees something on the camera that he doesn't see with his
So
eyes?
watch
when
this.
He's filming it.
Think of this. I'm gonna see something in the footage, but you guys are not. And that's gonna mess with me, man. And then what's it called?
we can all go through the footage together.
If I'm
after.
monitoring. Wow. If I'm looking out for the sound as well, the audio, I'm gonna be hearing everything. See, even that, I want to run after hearing that. Like,
Don't worry.
Yeah, exactly.
You're gonna be all right.
That's okay. It's gonna be good
Yeah.
because if something does happen, none of us have to carry the gear. We can all run and get a
Ah.
head start. You're stuck behind.
I'm sorry, but
Are you guys
don't-
gonna
don't
run if
get
you
it.
hear something?
I'm out. Like,
Are you?
No.
I might have to move back to Toronto or something. But
Well, you do, Will.
I don't know.
You ever heard Michael Jackson scream? Because that's what I have to envision it sounding like.
No, that'll be me and Courtney.
this isn't
I don't know.
fun. Like,
Honestly, the scariest thing I've ever done was probably. I've never been to like haunted houses or anything. I've been to the one in West Ed. That one kind of spooked me out.
see,
The one in Galaxyland, but
I don't
then
even
again,
go
I'd
to
imagine
those.
that's nothing.
But that's not a real one.
Yeah, that's nothing.
I don't even go into those. I don't mess with those.
Do you guys find that like a house can give you a good or bad
Yeah.
vibe?
Oh, for
Yeah.
sure.
100%.
Because you guys have been to my house, right?
Yeah.
So
Good vibe.
it's a
You
good
don't
vibe
get
house.
that.
It's an old farmhouse.
Mm-hmm.
It's been redone, but it's in the middle of like the country.
Yeah.
So when I was doing the renovation and Katie was living in the city, I was out there by myself, man, and I watched The Conjuring a couple times, and I never had a bad vibe in that house
never.
ever. Touch wood,
Mm-hmm.
even though it's like old. And my grandparents lived in PEI. They had this massive old century home. I think it was like 110 years old. There were secret passages through the walls, like you could go through different shelving units and into different rooms. It was really creepy, but never had a bad vibe in that house.
Mm-hmm.
And then even some like newer ones, like one I had a couple of years ago in Leduc,
Yeah.
real bad vibe. I don't know what it was. It just, you always got that like someone was watching you feeling, or like something was going on.
For me, it's always big houses. Whenever I'm in a house that's really, really big, it's really uncomfortable to me. Like, because some of my friends have those types of houses where it's like multiple floors,
Bigger
big
houses
basements,
are creepy.
right? Because you never know it's just huge.
Yeah, I agree.
It scares me, especially at nighttime, because then you have to turn on lights everywhere.
You want to come watch Conjuring
hear
tonight, Murray?
voices.
I'm okay.
You sure?
I'm gonna stay far away from any
My
of that.
2 and 5-year-old are gonna watch it, so I thought you might want to join them.
Nice. No,
Wait, do you have any
Yeah.
scary stories, Terrell? Like when you were a kid?
me? I had this
I'll go.
one, but no.
You don't wanna bring it
worth
up?
sharing, no.
I have one
Scary.
from when I was in grade 5, I think. Yeah. My parents let me stay home alone, and because that day both my
Big
parents had to
things.
work. Yeah, I know those
Big things.
big boy things. And then so my mom left like a whole dinner for me and everything in the fridge. She put like a sticky note on it saying like how long to microwave it for and
Bro, the demon
everything.
ate that thing.
no, I was
It's like, damn.
I got home. I was like, I had my computer and everything. I was playing CS:GO 1.6. I was like all happy. And then 8:00 came, and I knew it was like, oh, it's time to get some food, right? So I walked downstairs, turn all the lights, open the fridge, get my food, stick it in the microwave. 1 minute 30, start, right? And then as I sit down at the kitchen table, just waiting, just kind of like twiddling my thumbs. And then I hear the TV go on downstairs, right? And at the time, my parents had like a pretty nice, it was like a big TV. It was one of those really nice, big, expensive TVs. It was, really nice.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, that's weird. Why did it turn on? I I didn't get scared of it at the first time. I'm just like, oh, maybe it's just a glitch or something, right? So
Being
I
all
heard
logical and stuff.
yeah, right. Like so our basement door is kind of, it's like glass, so I can see through it. And then I opened it, turned on the light, took one step down, and then it shut off. Like I placed my foot right on the step, and then it shut off. And when I lifted my foot and turned around, it turned back on, right? And so that's when I got scared. I was like, okay, what's going on? So then I went one step down and nothing happened. But then I went again and I took like my second step and then it turned on again. And when I like turned around, that's when it started turning off again, and it just kept like started like turning on and off, right? And it was like a news channel that was playing, so it was like it had this like really creepy vibe to it and everything.
That's super
so
creepy.
I didn't even eat my dinner. I just took I literally grabbed a knife. I ran up to my
He
room
left
and
it
hid
on
in
the
corner.
counter for the weekend.
I don't know why. I grabbed like a butter knife. And
a butter knife
a
too.
butter knife. I ran up to my room, closed the door, sat in the corner, and I like called my mom. I'm like, Mom, the TV's turning off and on. And then that was probably the creepiest thing that's happened to me. So luckily I haven't had anything like Ryan said. That one's scary, especially when kids are involved. I think is always the worst when they're really young and you don't know why they're behaving the way they are.
I made the food joke because Will is infamous for leaving food.
Yeah, no, it's true.
No, I just don't understand Sunday. Like,
It'll be fun.
It'll
It'll be
fun. You
worth
guys wanna
it.
come
You'll
to
have
church?
fun.
you guys don't want to come to church?
You gonna go to church Sunday
I would go to
morning? And
church. No, Sunday night.
It's a good
Sunday
idea,
night.
honestly. You should bring a rosary in your pocket
Sunday.
or a cross.
go get
Or just-
baptized.
Yeah,
Right.
over the weekend.
Just like don't go. Just avoid any conflicts.
You'll be fine.
No.
I think you're worrying about it way too much. You're gonna be just fine.
See, if it was like a clown
Terrell
house-
actually gets possessed. Can you imagine?
Why is this so funny? Why is everyone
Doesn't show up the next
Why
day.
is everyone laughing? Do you see this? I'm panicking right now, guys. What
Where's
is so funny
Terrell?
about it? Jeez. You know I do
Because
good things.
it's not real. It's not gonna happen.
You're gonna be okay, little buddy.
Oh.
Well, next episode we're gonna have a lot more to talk about because it's actually gonna happen. Then.
Next
So
episode, I'm gonna be talking in like
we can
Latin.
tongue mannerly.
Terrell's gonna be talking in
I'll be
tongues.
back and different.
And on next Friday, we'll be featuring Terrell's exorcism right here in the boardroom,
God.
live on podcast.
Live stream that. Spread it on the table. Man. It's not cool.
Well, I think that's enough for time now for today. I think we got everything we wanted to say and more, and we
Covered a pretty diverse group of topics.
went all the way from politics,
Aliens, politics,
aliens,
ghosts.
To me being possessed.
to
Terrell getting possessed.
You will be possessed.
Knock on wood. Please.
That's where I sent Babs, actually. I sent her to the Wiccan store to put a little curse on you. We just said she was going to wash my truck.
I see how it is.
Yeah. She got a little Tyrell voodoo doll.
voodoo doll.
Looks like Kanye.
It's the greatest. It's the latest.
Okay, so I guess that rounds up that episode. We'll be back next Friday again. That's when we're gonna start posting out these episodes. Is every Friday. That's what we're gonna dedicate ourselves to doing. So
Well, we all know that won't happen.
no, we'll commit to it. We'll make it happen
It'll happen. We
Yeah.
posted last week's today, so we're on a roll.
every Friday. So once again, guys, thank you for listening. If you made it all the way through and you heard every single random topic we talked about today. And hope you guys have an amazing weekend, and thank you for listening.
Also, check out socialhero.ca.
Yes, good plug.
Swing that.
Nice. All right, see you guys.